بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طلاب اليوم محاضرتنا راح تكون عن موضوع الهيرنج اند بالانس. بداية راح يكون بداية الموضوع هو introduction عن الموضوع. Introduction, as you know, our ear is not only concerned with hearing. It has another function is the balance. So we have two modalities of sensation present in the ear. The first of them is responsible for hearing, and this is housed or this is presented by the external ear, middle ear, and the cochlea of the inner ear. And the second function is concerned with the balance, and this is served by the semicircular canal, utricle, and saccule. Now, first part is to learn what is the structure of the ear. First part of the ear, as you know, the first part of the ear is the external ear. External ear composed of the external auditory meatus, the auricle. This is the auricle. It funnels the sound waves to move into the external auditory meatus. This is only the external ear. After the sound waves move through the external auditory meatus, it will reach into the tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane signals the start of the middle ear. After middle ear is part of the ear that fall between the external ear and the inner ear. The middle ear has many functions or has many parts. The first part of them is the ossicles. These are small bony structures, three small bony structures called the malleus, the first bone that is attached to the tympanic membrane, incus, the second bone, and the stapes. These are three bones we will discuss later. In addition to the three bones, we have the space filled with air, and we have what we call it the Eustachian tube. Eustachian tube is air-filled tube connect the middle ear to the nasopharynx, and so it will help to equalize pressure of the middle ear and the pharynx. This is a very important function. Without this tube, rupture of the eardrum and rupture of the middle ear will occur easily. This tube closed during normal condition and opened only during yawing, chewing, and swallowing. The third part of the middle ear is the muscles. We have two muscles, tensor tympani and stapedius, and we will discuss them later. Okay, these are the bones of the middle ear again. This is the malleus. It is foot plate attached to the tympanic membrane and then attached to the incus. Incus will transmit the waves produced by the sound waves into the stapes, which attached to the oval window of the inner ear. And this is another picture of the middle ear and of the ossicles of the middle ear. Now the third part of the ear is the inner ear. The inner ear composed of two parts. The first part is the cochlea, which is a coiled tube responsible for hearing, and the second part is the semicircular canal. These are three semicircular canals. This is the first, this is the second, and this is the third semicircular canal. And also we have the utricle and saccule, also two important parts that is responsible for the equilibrium and balance. Okay, now if we move into the cochlea and know what is the structure of the cochlea and what is the function of the cochlea, the semicircular canals and the cochlea composed of a bony part called bony labyrinth. Inside it is a membranous structure that have the same shape of the bony structure and called membranous labyrinth. Between the membranous labyrinth and the bony labyrinth is the perilymph, which has fluid called perilymph, which has low concentration of potassium, And inside the membranous labyrinth is the endolymph, which has high concentration of potassium. Now, if we move to the inside structure of the cochlea, the cochlea has the sense organ of the cochlea called organ of Corti. As you see, this is the organ of Corti. Organ of Corti, it extends from the base of the cochlea to its apex. It has highly specialized receptors called the hair cells. As you see there, these are the hair cells, which is specialized receptors for the hearing. The hair cells are set on the tectorial membrane. The hair cells are set or are in contact with the tectorial membrane. They are small cells, has project from its surface is the stereocilia, what we call them the stereocilia, fine projections. These stereocilia are in contact with the tectorial membrane. The bases of the hair cells are in contact with the basilar membrane, and the nerve fiber, which is the auditory nerve fiber, cochlear part of the auditory nerve fiber, attached to the base of the hair cells. Okay, these are the internal structure of the cochlea. Now, if you move into the semicircular canals, these are the semicircular canal. We have 3 semicircular canal that arrange in the 3 part of the space, which is the anterior, lateral, and posterior. These 3 semicircular canals, inside them, as the cochlea, there is the membranous labyrinth. Inside it is the endolymph. The endolymph moves freely inside them until it reach into the its base, which is called here, the present is the ampulla. This is the ampulla of the semicircular canal. Inside the ampulla, there is a membrane called capula. Movement of the semicircular canal will cause movement of the endolymph inside it, and this movement will display the membrane, as called the capula, and this displacement will stimulate the hair cell to produce action potential and will cause the sensation of balance. Now, the other part of the middle ear concerned with balance called the saccule and utricle. These 2 structures are concerned with the acceleration. The saccule is responsible for the vertical acceleration, while the utricle is responsible for the horizontal acceleration. These correct, or these will determine the balance of the body in these 2 types of movements. Inside the saccule and utricle, there is what we call it the otolith or the otoconia, which is crystals contain calcium carbonate crystals. These crystals are embedded in the membrane of the called otolithic membrane. A nerve fiber present beneath them. Any movement or any change in the direction of the movement or direction of the acceleration will cause displacement of the otolith membrane and displacement of the otolith, and this will cause activation of the stereocilia and the hair cells producing action potential that is used to control the balance of the body. Now, how the sound transmitted into the sound waves transmitted in the ear. After sound wave is funneled through by the external auditory meatus into the by the auricle into the external auditory meatus. It will reach to the tympanic membrane. If after it calls vibration of the tympanic membrane, vibration transmits to the malleus, which transmit into the incus, and this transmit the vibration into the stapes. The stapes act as a door. It is movement in and out will cause vibration in the fluid that surround the vibration in the fluid, which is the endolymph present inside the membranous labyrinth. These vibrations will be transmitted into the, this is, as you see, this is movement in and out called a stirrup movement, like opening and closing the door. This opening and closure of the door will result in a vibration transmitted in the endolymph. This vibration will cause the formation of the membranes, like the tectorial membrane, and this will cause the formation in the stereocilia that cover the tip of the hair cells. This deformation will open specific ion channel, allowing the calcium to enter into the cell, and this create action potential transmitted along the nerve ending into the brain. Okay, and this is, as you see, this is the organ of Corti present inside the cochlea. Okay, after that, after action potential is generated inside the hair cells, it will be transmitted into the auditory nerve into the brain. During its passage, its first part, after leaving the hair cells, all the fibers from the hair cells will synapse in the spiral ganglia present in the temporal bone. After that, the nerves move into the dorsal and ventral cochlear nuclei. After that, fibers will move into the cochlear nuclei present in the medulla. From there, fibers will move into the superior olivary nucleus. As you see there, the green dot, this is the superior olivary nucleus. From the superior olivary nucleus, the fibers pass upward into the lateral, through the lateral meniscus, to end in the inferior colliculus. As you see there, and to end in the inferior colliculus. From the inferior colliculus, it will pass to the medial geniculate nucleus. All the fibers will synapse in the medial geniculate nucleus of the thalamus, and from there the fibers will end into the auditory cortex of the brain. We have important points to remember by the from these pathway. The first point to remember is that signals from one ear transmitted on both sides of the brain. That means there is multiple areas of crossing. From the fibers from the right side will cross to the left side, and fibers from the left side will cross to the right side. And this will help in the binaural hearing. The second part, there is high degree of spatial orientation is maintained in the fiber tracts from the cochlea all the way to the cortex. The olivary nucleus help in the detection of direction of movement from where the sound came. This helped by the auditory nucleus. Also, this is another shape of the central pathways of the brain. This is the superior olivary nucleus, and this is shape of the olivary nucleus, and these are other nuclei important for the hearing. And this is another picture showing the inferior colliculus, which is important in the hearing and in hearing processes. Now, after fibers from the thalamus, it will move into the cerebral cortex, into the auditory part of the cerebral cortex, where it will there are two types: the primary auditory cortex and the auditory association cortex, or the secondary auditory cortex. The primary auditory cortex is directly excited by the nerve fibers, auditory nerve fibers, while the secondary is responsible for further dissection and analysis of the auditory information. As you see, this is the picture showing the primary auditory cortex, and there are multiple secondary auditory cortex. This is the primary, and there are multiple secondary auditory cortices, and like this and this, all these are secondary auditory cortex. As you see, there is a connection, important connection in the brain. Now, how can we localize the sound localization? Determination of the direction from which a sound is reach the body depend on detecting the difference in the perception of the sound waves by the two ears. This is important part and should be known and understood. As you see there, the direction of sound depend on the timing, or depend on the speed of recognition of the sound by the ear near that source of sound. Deafness. What is deafness? Deafness is hearing loss, or it is inability to hear. It is either conductive, due to error in the conduction, as you see there. Either there is perforation of the eardrum, there is cut in the ossicular chain, there is rupture in the oval window, or there is any other pathology here that prevent the sound wave from reaching the inner ear. Or there is, the second type is the sensory neural hearing loss. Sensory neural is seen due to damage in the cochlea or the auditory nerve fiber, or in the central pathways of the brain. This is important part and should be known. This is what we call it, the deafness. Now, the final part of the lecture is about the vestibular system. Vestibular system is the system responsible for the balance and equilibrium. It involves many parts of the brain, but here we will concentrate on the ear and its role in the balance. We have to know that the part of the ear concerned with balance is the inner ear, and specifically the semicircular canals and utricle and saccule. Other parts of the ear is concerned only with hearing. And we explain the mechanism or the process of the balance by, as we say, any movement or any change in the plan of the body will cause a movement in the endolymph. This movement of the endolymph will cause deformation of the membrane, we call it capula or otolith membrane, and this will cause activation of the hair cells and the creation of action potential. After action potential is created or generated in the hair cells of the utricle, saccule, or the semicircular canal, it will be moved into the vestibular part of the vestibulocochlear nerve. It will first synapse in the spiral ganglia, also present in the near the ear. After that, it will move into the vestibular nuclei, and from there it will move to cranial nerves and vestibular cortex, thalamus and vestibular cortex, and into the cerebellum. There are important abnormalities in the balance. One of them is vertigo. Vertigo is the feeling of a rotation, constant feeling of rotation. The patient see that the room or the surrounding is rotating around him. This occurs when the labyrinth is inflamed. Another important disorders of the balance is the benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. This is a feeling of rotation when assuming certain posture or certain positions of the head. This is important and also we should know. Thank you.